I experienced my first Thanksgiving in 2009 when I was a student at Andrews University, and I had very little idea about what Thanksgiving was. So I went to my friends and I said, "What is Thanksgiving?" And they all gave me a variation of the same answer. You eat a lot of food and then you pass out on the couch. And true to form, I went for my first Thanksgiving meal at a friend's house, and then we just hopped all around the neighborhood and ended up sleeping on a couch. But I wanted to find out, what does Thanksgiving really mean? So I did what any student would do who has any ounce of dignity, and I went on the internet. I went to Google. And Google has this way of sucking you in from what you're originally trying to do to this black hole called YouTube. And when I went to YouTube, I found something called a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. May be familiar to you. So Charlie Brown, this helpless young man, is talking to Sally, and Sally says, "Why have I got to be thankful anyway? Why do I have to be thankful anyway? All Thanksgiving does is give me more work at school. I have all of these projects to turn in." And then Charlie goes inside and gets a call from Peppermint Patty, and she invites herself over along with two other people. And as they are eating popcorn and pretzels, Peppermint Patty says, "What kind of Thanksgiving is this? Where's the turkey? Where's the mashed potatoes? Where's the cranberry sauce? This is the worst Thanksgiving ever." And poor Chuck, sitting there at this table, realizes that his Thanksgiving has been a complete and abysmal failure. And so I wonder if the totality of Thanksgiving for us is food. Is it just food? I'm sure food is important. It's very important. But today, I want to look at gratitude as an important element of Thanksgiving. Luke chapter 17 tells us the story of 10 lepers. Jesus is passing through Samaria and Galilee, and he's on his way to Jerusalem. And Luke tells us that all of a sudden, Jesus hears a gaggle of men calling out to him. Now, when I hear this call in my head, it sounds raspy. You know, it's desperate. It's croaky. These are lepers who have their bodies attacked, including their vocal cords. So as they're trying to get Jesus' attention, it takes every ounce of their energy to get this man to stop. But they come to him and they shout, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." And Jesus stops, and without any fanfare, with no magic words or mud or spit, he approaches the men and he gives them a simple instruction. He says, "Go to the priest and show yourself." So I'm reading the story, and this is what I imagine. As they listen in faith to Jesus, these 10 men are going to the priest. And as they're going, something really strange begins to happen. I imagine that Tom turns to Bill, and he's like, "Wait, Bill, I think your ear is growing back." And Tom says, "You know what? I think my foot is starting to come back." And as they are moving along to the priest, they begin to be healed. Now, of course, the priest was the public health inspector of the day. So that is why Jesus said, "Go and show yourself to the priest." And the story continues. And we are told that as these 10 men are walking away from Jesus, the crowd all of a sudden see one of them bolt from the main group, turn around, and start booking it back to Jesus. So this guy is running. I mean, his feet have grown back, and he is kicking up dust. And these people are just there wondering what this gentleman is going to do. But as he runs and he comes to Jesus, he throws himself on the ground and he says, or the text tells us that he does what? He glorifies God. Now, usually at this point in the sermon, the other 9 just get thrown under the bus, and they are portrayed as being ungrateful bores who are just too lazy to come back and say, cheers, mate, appreciate it. Thank you for healing me, Jesus. But I think a word on their behalf is in order. The facts are plain in this story, and the 9 who don't come back to Jesus obey his command to show themselves to the priest. They do exactly what Jesus has told them to do. They obey the voice of God. And they do this before they actually know they're going to be healed. So they are all exhibiting faith. So I think the 10 all listen to Jesus, and we should cut the 9 lepers some slack. When I was about 10, I would love the summer holidays. Love it. No school, endless sun, and amazing opportunities. The very worst thing that can happen to you if you're 10 and it's the summer holidays is that you get sick. Like you get some mystery bug in the summer and your parents have you locked inside. So you're just there, just at the window, scratching the windows like a puppy, watching all your friends running past and screaming and playing cops and robbers and pretending to score the winning goal in the World Cup, and you're just at home, just devastated. So can you imagine what it's like when after an entire, 3 days of torture, your parents pronounce to you, you know what? I think you're better. You can go outside. I know what I would be like, or what I was like. I would be like a thoroughbred horse at the gate, and I would bolt out the house, down the stairs, and into my friend's arms. I would be happy to do it. So can you imagine these 10 lepers who have now been healed? Just imagine this with me. These are 10 lepers who are now thinking about reunions. They are imagining the kisses of their wives that they have not had for many years. They are thinking about their children who are going to run up to them and hug them around the leg. They're thinking about their mothers who are going to embrace them. They're thinking about the synagogue, the market, and being welcomed back into the community. So I think if these 9 lepers are listening to Jesus and they are running and thinking about this incredible reunion that is going to happen, they were obedient to Jesus. And yet the story tells us that they were lacking. Verse 16, Luke chapter 17 and verse 16. It says here, and he fell down on his face. This is talking about the one who came back, giving thanks, and he was a Samaritan. Now we know that the Samaritans were the foreigners. And so it's an important fact that Luke decides to put inside the text. So this Samaritan comes back, and Luke tells us that he was sozo. It just means he was healed. And this is the same word that is used when the gospel writers describe salvation and complete healing. Now, Luke uses a different word when he speaks about the other 9. He says they were therisdo, which is healed. So he basically is making a distinction between the one who comes back having complete healing, sozo, and the 9 who don't come back having just a physical healing. And so it seems to me that in giving this detail, Luke is definitely steering the reader's mind also toward the parable of the Good Samaritan. Okay, so this is a part of the sermon you're going to have to just kind of hold on with me here. Trying to build something. So if I'm losing you, tune back in. So Luke, using this cue in the story, is making us think about the Good Samaritan. And in this story, of course, we know that there are two passers-by who are more concerned with their liturgical duty rather than helping a wounded neighbor on the side of the road. So as I thought about this, I wondered to myself, in this Thanksgiving season, how does this story of the leper who came back impact us collectively as a community of faith and as individual ambassadors of God? Why does Jesus bundle together gratitude with wholeness of mind, body, and spirit? Is there any connection? I think there is. As I was reading this story, it occurred to me that gratitude as a posture of the spirit is a reorientation of the inner life and causes us to go beyond passive thanks to active declaration. Or, in other words, Thanksgiving has to be more than Twinkie sweet platitudes where we thank God for a list of all the things that we can consume. Gratitude takes us from a warm, fuzzy feeling to actually doing something about it. Does that make sense? Okay, all right, you're following me. Gratitude, additionally, is a recognition of our wealth and our abundance and should prompt a desire to see others similarly blessed. And we see on this stage a wonderful example of the gratitude that we have as a community of faith. So all this food here is going to the Ronald McDonald House. And I went onto the website and they list some of the families that will actually be touched by this food. And two people stood out to me. One was a 10-month-old girl called Emily. She was flown in from Anchorage, Alaska, when they found a mass on her kidneys. So at 10 months old, this young girl is having to go through cancer treatment. And because we are grateful for what God has done for us, we extend our hands, and Emily and her family will have the opportunity to have food and to have Thanksgiving. There was another kid, 10 years old, his name was Riley, suffering from acute lymphoblastic cancer, came over from Eastern Washington. And he's been in the Ronald McDonald House for months. I think his father works maybe drilling oil or something, so he's able to come for 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. But can you imagine that? You're not thinking about running around. You're 10 and you are suffering with this acute form of cancer. And our gratitude gives us the opportunity to recognize that what we have, our wealth, whether it's our health, whether it's the ability to work, obligates us to help those who are suffering and who cannot help themselves. The Bible tells us that God gives rain to the good people. No, the Bible tells us that God gives rain to the just and to the unjust, those who pursue him and those who shun him. And so it tells me that in God's reckoning, none of us have any claim on his goodness. And so gratitude, in recognizing that God gives to the just and to the unjust, allows us to attribute everything that we have to him and not to ourselves. It allows us to recognize that our ability to work for 60 hours a week, 260 days a year, should shine the spotlight not inwardly to the works of our hands, but it should shine the spotlight, first of all, upward to God for what He has given, and outward to our community in how we can help them. Gratitude says that my wage and my bonuses should not be attributed to myself alone. Of course, you have to wake up in the morning, fight traffic, and go to work. But gratitude says that, God, thank you for my healthy 401k. Thank you for my enlarged pension. Thank you for my Roth IRAs. I don't even know half of these things, but I know you have it if you're doing well in life. Give me 20 years. And so we know that when God gives it to us and we recognize the giver of the gifts, there is very little wiggle room for a sense of entitlement. After all, who deserves the colors of the sunlight? Like, who deserves to see a double rainbow, or to hear a bird chirping, or to hold a newborn baby? None of us deserve it by rights. And so in recognizing that we are not the center of our blessedness, in recognizing we are not the center of what we are able to accumulate, by default, we need to look outside of ourselves, and I propose to God, who then charges us to take our wealth and to give it to other people. The taste of clean water, the beauty of Bach, or Johnny Coltrane, or Bob Marley. Who deserves that? And when we live a life of gratitude, I believe we perform a sacred liturgy in the humdrum of our 9-to-5 schedules. Then we don't worship the works of our hands, but we bless God for privileging us with means. Most of us here, actually I wrote this, let me tell you, this is funny. I was going to say, most of us here are part of the 99% in America. So I went to do some research. Who are the 99%? So here goes. You are part of the 99% in America if you earn less than $380,000 a year, or your net worth is less than $8 million. You know, I don't know much about people's financial positions, but I think there may be some 1%ers here, which is fine, because the 99% in America would constitute the 5% in the rest of the world. If you earn more than $25,000 a year, you are part of the 5% richest people on the entire globe. And so, Green Lake, all of us here are wealthy. We are wealthy, and because we are wealthy, we also have an obligation in our gratitude to give to others. And then I thought about this, and I put this on my Facebook page yesterday. How can you be grateful or cultivate an attitude of gratitude when your life is a shambles? Because Thanksgiving comes around, and it's almost like a loaded gun pointed to your head. And you're supposed to have this arbitrary, festive spirit. But what if your life is a complete shambles right now? What if your marriage is on the rocks? What if you're having civil war in your family? What if you hate going to work? Are you supposed to all of a sudden fake some sweet, warm, fuzzy feelings because it's Thanksgiving? And I put that question out there because I wasn't sure. I mean, give thanks. It's Thanksgiving. And your life is a complete wreck. What then? Okay, this is good. We're getting choir participation. Feel free to talk. Okay, so someone said here, you're still alive. Okay, so life is a gift. Anyone else? If your life is a complete and utter wreck right now, how do you cultivate an attitude of gratitude? Someone wrote on my Facebook page, you bless God. Another person said, you remember what God has done for you in the past and you trust him for what he will continue to do for the future. And I agree with all of those, but when you are in the middle of whatever situation you're going through, darkness can feel much heavier than light. And there are times when you just don't feel grateful, when life has really beaten you up. And I think it's at those times that those of us who have been blessed with abundance, who have the ability to give, should stretch our arm around those who struggle to be grateful during that season of their life. I think it's okay to feel crummy and not want to be grateful. We know that we should be, but there are times when we just don't feel like it. And I think those are our opportunities as a community to put our arm around those who are struggling and who just don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And in doing that, we become emissaries of God in recognizing our abundance and in gratitude, striving to impart well-being and flourishing in our communities. And so as we continue to look forward to this season of gratitude, I want to echo the words of the former UN Secretary General Dag Hammarskjöld. If you're Scandinavian, you can see me after. For all that has been, thanks. And for all that will be, yes. We are a grateful community because we are a wealthy community. And I pray that in this season of Thanksgiving, you can give out of your abundance. And for those who are struggling to feel gratitude, that you can put your arm around them and you can extend the gratitude and the wealth that you are enjoying. Amen.